Imagine waking up to a perfectly ordinary morning. The sun rises, cars fill the streets, airplanes cross the sky, satellites quietly orbit high above Earth. Everything seems completely normal. Then, every radio telescope on Earth detects the same strange signal. Deep in space, a mysterious object has suddenly become brighter. Not because it's exploding, not because it's moving toward us, but because it's turning. Astronomers quickly identify the source. A magnetar, the rarest, and one of the most terrifying objects in the entire universe. Most people have never heard the word, but scientists know exactly what it means. A magnetar is the collapsed core of a massive star. After a gigantic supernova, the star dies. Its core shrinks to only about 20 kilometers across. Yet, it still contains more mass than our sun. Imagine squeezing the sun into a city. The result is a neutron star, but sometimes, something even stranger is born. A magnetar. Its magnetic field is so unbelievably powerful that it defies imagination. Earth has a magnetic field. It's what allows your compass to point north. It's what protects our atmosphere from the solar wind. A refrigerator magnet is stronger than Earth's magnetic field. Yet a magnetar is trillions of times stronger than that. In fact, if a magnetar came halfway between Earth and the Moon, its magnetic field could disrupt electronic devices without ever touching them. Fortunately, every known magnetar is safely thousands of light years away. But what if one wasn't? Imagine astronomers making an impossible discovery. A previously invisible magnetar, traveling through interstellar space, has entered our cosmic neighborhood. Not millions of light years away. Not thousands. Just a few billion kilometers from Earth. Still far beyond the planets. But close enough for its magnetic influence to begin reaching the solar system. At first, nothing seems different. People continue living their lives. Schools remain open. Flights continue. The internet works normally. Only scientists understand the danger. Every observatory immediately points toward the mysterious object. Computers begin calculating its trajectory. Each new observation produces the same terrifying conclusion. The magnetar isn't heading directly for Earth. It doesn't have to. Its magnetic field alone could become one of the greatest natural disasters humanity has ever faced. Governments receive classified reports. Space agencies quietly place satellites into emergency modes. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station are ordered to prepare for evacuation. Around the world, most people have no idea why. Then, the first signs begin appearing. Not in the sky, not on Earth, but in space. Communication satellites start behaving strangely. Tiny bursts of unexplained interference spread through orbit. Some satellites briefly lose contact. Others suddenly restart themselves. Engineers suspect software failures, solar activity, even cyber attacks. But none of those explanations fit. Because something invisible is already reaching us. The magnetar's magnetic field, traveling across billions of kilometers of empty space. Quietly, patiently, growing stronger every single day. Humanity still has time. Perhaps weeks, perhaps months. But the countdown has already begun. Because unlike an asteroid, or a comet, you can't see magnetism, you can't hide from it. And you certainly can't stop it. The magnetar continues its silent approach. It still appears as nothing more than a tiny point of light. No explosions, no shockwave, no sound. Yet, its magnetic field is growing stronger every single hour. At first, only scientists notice. Powerful radio telescopes begin detecting strange bursts of energy. Earth's magnetic field, normally smooth and stable, starts behaving unpredictably. Compasses around the world drift several degrees off north. Navigation systems require constant correction. Ships crossing the oceans report unusual compass failures. Pilots notice instruments behaving strangely. Engineers blame software bugs. But they are wrong. Something far larger is happening. Then, the first satellites go dark. Communication satellites suddenly stop responding. GPS accuracy begins dropping. Weather satellites transmit corrupted images. Some never recover. Others tumble silently through orbit. no longer under anyone's control. Within days, the world's navigation systems begin failing. Cargo ships lose their routes. Commercial aircraft must rely on backup procedures. Military forces switch to emergency communication systems. The internet slows. Global financial markets struggle as timing signals from satellites disappear. People begin asking a simple question: why is everything failing at once? Then, the night sky changes. Brilliant auroras appear over cities that have never seen them before. Paris, Cairo, Mexico City, Singapore, even regions near the equator glow with waves of green, purple, and crimson light. Millions gather outside. They believe they're witnessing the most beautiful light show in history. Photographers celebrate. Social media fills with breathtaking images. But scientists know the truth. These aren't ordinary auroras. They're a warning. Earth's magnetic shield, the invisible force protecting every living thing from dangerous cosmic radiation, is beginning to weaken. Normally, our magnetic field deflects billions of charged particles from space every second. Now, the Magnetars' unimaginable magnetic field is distorting that shield. Tiny cracks begin opening. Radiation starts leaking through. At first, the increase is almost impossible to notice. But astronauts aboard the International Space Station receive dangerous radiation doses within hours. Mission Control orders an immediate evacuation. For the first time in decades, low Earth orbit is becoming unsafe for humans. Back on Earth, power companies begin noticing another problem. Long transmission lines suddenly carry enormous electrical currents. Transformers overheat. Power stations shut down automatically. Entire cities lose electricity. Then entire countries. Blackouts spread across continents. Hospitals switch to emergency generators. Cell phone networks collapse. Air traffic control radar begins disappearing from screens. The modern world, built on electronics, starts falling apart, not because anything exploded, but because invisible magnetic forces are flowing through every wire on Earth. Scientists compare the event to the famous Carrington event of 1859. The largest solar storm ever recorded. Back then, telegraph systems caught fire, operators received electric shocks, but humanity survived because the world wasn't dependent on electronics. Today, everything depends on electricity. Satellites, hospitals, transportation, banking, water treatment, food distribution, communication. Remove electricity, and civilization begins stopping within days. Then, the Magnetar emits something unexpected, a sudden burst of X-rays and gamma radiation, not aimed directly at Earth, just a small flare released during its rotation. Yet even from billions of kilometers away, sensitive instruments are instantly overwhelmed. Scientists freeze, because if a small flare can do this, what would happen if the Magnetar released one of its legendary giant flares? The answer could determine whether humanity survives, or watches modern civilization disappear in a matter of hours. The giant flare begins. There is no explosion that people can hear, no fireball crossing the sky, no warning sirens, just an invisible wave of energy, racing across space at the speed of light. 8 minutes later, it reaches Earth. At first, nothing seems different. People continue driving, hospitals continue operating, stock markets remain open. Then, every satellite in low Earth orbit begins reporting critical failures. One after another, communication is lost. GPS satellites shut down. Weather satellites stop transmitting. Military satellites disappear from radar. Within minutes, humanity becomes blind in space. Then, the electrical grid begins collapsing. Transformers overheat across entire continents. High-voltage power lines carry enormous induced currents. Substations explode. One city loses power. Then another. Then another. Within a single hour, much of the world is in darkness. No internet. No mobile networks. No television. No GPS. Modern civilization falls silent. Air traffic controllers lose contact with hundreds of aircraft. Pilots can no longer rely on satellite navigation. Emergency procedures begin worldwide. Some planes land safely, others disappear into the darkness, never reaching their destinations. Meanwhile, hospitals switch to backup generators. Doctors continue performing surgery. Intensive care units fight to keep patients alive. But fuel supplies are limited. Some generators fail. Life support systems begin shutting down. Thousands of lives are suddenly at risk. Across the oceans, cargo ships drift without reliable navigation. Ports lose communication. Global trade stops almost overnight. Supermarkets begin emptying within days. Fuel deliveries stop. Food shortages spread rapidly. Cities that once depended on millions of daily deliveries find themselves isolated. Then, Earth's magnetic shield weakens even further. Charged particles pour into the upper atmosphere. The sky erupts. Auroras dance above every continent. Brilliant curtains of green, purple, and crimson stretch from horizon to horizon. They are breathtaking, but deadly. Radiation levels climb. Airline crews at high altitude receive dangerous doses. Flights are cancelled worldwide. Astronauts who failed to leave orbit in time take shelter behind the thickest walls of their spacecraft. Even then, they cannot escape entirely. On the ground, people begin noticing strange effects. Some radios produce nothing but static. Electronic devices reboot without warning. Power surges destroy computers. Data centers overheat. Banks lose access to digital records. Financial systems freeze. The modern world, built over centuries, begins unraveling in less than 24 hours. Scientists gather in underground command centers. They compare incoming data with every known solar storm in history. The result is chilling. This is not a solar storm. It is far more powerful. The magnetic field surrounding the Magnetar is overwhelming Earth's natural defenses. And then, the calculations reveal one final possibility. The Magnetar hasn't reached its closest point yet. Its magnetic influence will continue increasing. If it comes any closer, Earth's magnetic field could temporarily collapse altogether. Without that invisible shield, the surface of our planet would be exposed to levels of cosmic radiation never experienced in human history. Humanity has survived asteroid impacts, ice ages, supervolcanoes, and pandemics. But this threat is different. You cannot see it, you cannot touch it, you cannot build a wall against it, because the greatest danger in the universe may not be gravity, or fire, or collision, it may be magnetism itself. So, could this terrifying scenario actually happen? Could a Magnetar really bring civilization to its knees, without ever touching our planet? The answer is, surprisingly, yes, but only under extremely rare circumstances. Magnetars are real. Astronomers have discovered around 30 confirmed magnetars in our galaxy. Each one is the crushed core of a giant star that exploded in a supernova. They're only about 20 kilometers across. Yet they contain more mass than our Sun. A single teaspoon of magnetar material would weigh around 1 billion tons on Earth. But mass isn't what makes them terrifying. It's their magnetic field. A magnetar's magnetic field is the strongest known in the universe. Roughly 1,000 trillion times stronger than Earth's. Nothing created by humanity comes remotely close. If a magnetar somehow passed between Earth and the Moon, its magnetic field could induce enormous electrical currents in conductors. Many electronic systems would fail. Satellites could be damaged. Power grids might collapse. Fortunately, that scenario is extraordinarily unlikely. Every known magnetar is safely thousands of light years away. The closest known examples are far beyond any distance that could threaten Earth. Even their giant flares, powerful enough to outshine millions of suns for a brief moment, become harmless after traveling across thousands of light years. In fact, Earth has already experienced a magnetar flare. In December 2004, a giant flare from a magnetar nearly 50,000 light-years away briefly affected satellites and instruments around Earth. And that was from halfway across the Milky Way. Imagine how powerful it truly was at its source. Fortunately, the universe is unimaginably large. The odds of a magnetar passing dangerously close to Earth are incredibly small. Far smaller than the chances of an asteroid impact. Far smaller than most natural disasters we worry about today. But the existence of magnetars reminds us of something extraordinary. The universe doesn't need explosions. or collisions, to be dangerous. Invisible forces, gravity, radiation, and magnetism, can reshape entire worlds from unimaginable distances. Every day, Earth survives because of a delicate balance. Our magnetic field shields us from the constant stream of charged particles flowing from the sun. Our atmosphere protects us from harmful radiation. Our technology depends on both. If either one failed, modern civilization would change almost overnight. The universe is far more powerful than we often realize. A star no larger than a city can possess enough magnetic energy to affect planets from across the galaxy. And yet, against those impossible odds, Earth has remained a safe home for billions of years. Perhaps that's the greatest miracle of all. If you enjoyed exploring one of the universe's most extraordinary cosmic objects, be sure to subscribe to What If Beyond, because the next question may be even more terrifying. Until next time, keep asking, what if?